Last week, Bitcoin hit a record high, even hitting $70,000 a few days ago. Yet despite Bitcoin's massive rally over the past few months, I think Bitcoin is just getting started. I researched the history of Bitcoin as it trades around halving events and came up with a price prediction for the next 4 weeks as well as the next 18 months. And what I found was shocking. You are not going to believe the price targets that I have for Bitcoin. I'm going to show you what I think Bitcoin is going to go to, and I'm going to show you how you can invest in Bitcoin to take advantage of the upcoming rally that I see happening in Bitcoin. I'm Scott Curry. I'm a former Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley investment banker, and I have over 25 years of trading experience. I have been through every single Bitcoin halving, and every single time there's a lot of hype around the halving, what's going to happen, and every single time Bitcoin behaves the exact same way. So there's no reason to believe that this halving event will be any different. And that is what has me so excited about the future price of Bitcoin. The next Bitcoin halving is expected to take place in about 37 days. Now, this is a fluid date. It is not set in stone, and it's based upon how much Bitcoin is mined. The actual date of the Bitcoin halving could be a little bit sooner than 37 days or a little bit later than 37 days. Over the past couple of weeks, as the interest in Bitcoin has surged and the number of people buying Bitcoin and the number of transactions has gone up, that halving date has actually shrunk. It's gotten closer and closer and closer. So it's possible that within a week, that halving date could be down to well under 30 days. We'll just have to wait and see. But sometime in April, this halving is going to take place. The price of Bitcoin over the past few months has absolutely rallied as people have high hopes around the halving event. But in a minute, I'm going to show you why I think this rally is just getting started. First, let me show you what a Bitcoin halving is and why it causes the price of Bitcoin to rise. The Bitcoin halving is a pre-programmed event that reduces the reward given to crypto miners by half approximately every 4 years. The halving is essential because it ensures that the supply of Bitcoin is kept in check and it prevents inflation. The reduction of mining rewards means the demand for Bitcoin is expected to increase and its value is likely to surge in response. It is anticipated to happen every 210,000 blocks, or roughly every 4 years, with the most recent halving occurring in May of 2020, reducing the reward from 12.5 to 6.25 BTC per block mined. The Bitcoin halving plays a crucial role in the long-term viability and scarcity of Bitcoin. In layman's terms, what that means is that in order to mine a Bitcoin, it becomes twice as difficult to mine once the halving event occurs. And in theory, it should cause the value of Bitcoin to double because with half of the supply, the price should in theory double. But what usually happens around these events is the price doesn't just double. The demand for Bitcoin increases substantially. So you don't just get a doubling of the price, you get the price going up much higher. So let's take a look back at past Bitcoin halvings and how Bitcoin's price moved around halving events so that I can show you how I came up with my Bitcoin price prediction. The first Bitcoin halving took place on November 28th, 2012, when the number of Bitcoins mined per block dropped from 50 down to 25. Currently, we're about 1 month away from the halving event, so I'm going to show you what the price of Bitcoin was 1 month prior to the halving. Then I'm going to show you what the price of Bitcoin was at the halving date, or as close to it as I can get. 1 month prior to the first halving event, Bitcoin was trading at $11.78. On the day of the halving, Bitcoin had increased to $12.46. It was a rise of less than 10%. But what was shocking is that just 4 months later, Bitcoin had rallied from $12 all the way up to $142. Bitcoin went up over 1,000% in a 4-month period. It more than 10x'd in just 4 months after the first halving event. But what was really interesting to me is that going into the halving, the price of Bitcoin did rise. But in general, it stayed fairly flat until about 3 months after the halving event, and then it started to absolutely rally. The second halving event took place on July 9th, 2016, as the number of blocks mined dropped from 25 down to 12.5. 1 month prior to the halving event, Bitcoin was trading at $609. On the day of the halving event, Bitcoin was trading at $650. Again, it was a small rise of less than 10% from a month prior to the halving event to the day of the halving event. But then, 18 months later, Bitcoin rallied from $650 all the way up to $19,000. It was a massive 3,000% rally, or 30x the price of Bitcoin in 18 months. Again, the price of Bitcoin stayed fairly flat for about a year after the halving event until suddenly it started to take off and absolutely rallied. The third halving event took place on May 11th of 2020 when the mining reward was cut in half again down to 6.25 Bitcoin per block. A month prior to the halving event, Bitcoin was trading at $6,800. And on the day of the halving event, Bitcoin was trading at $9,200. That was an increase of about 35% from a month prior to the halving event to the day of the halving event. Nothing spectacular. Good, but nothing spectacular. Bitcoin then traded flat for about 6 months until it started to take off. Then 1 year after the halving event, Bitcoin hit $63,500. Again, Bitcoin was up 1,000% or nearly 10x 1 year after the halving event. So what we have seen in the prior 3 halving events is the same story over and over and over again. Bitcoin rises a little bit going into the halving event. It then trades flat for anywhere from 3 months to a year, and then it really starts to rally. And when it does start to rally, it goes up anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000%, meaning it 10x's to 30x's in price from the halving event to where it's at about 18 months later. So what is my Bitcoin prediction based upon all of this? Well, over the next 4 weeks leading up to the halving event, I would suspect that Bitcoin would rise about another 30 to 40%, just like we saw in the last halving. That would put the price of Bitcoin at somewhere around $100,000 based upon the $70,000 price that it's currently trading at as of the recording of this video. So based upon history, I see Bitcoin getting to around $100,000 in the next 4 weeks. Then I would suspect that Bitcoin would trade fairly flat for anywhere from 3 to 12 months. Then I expect a massive rally in Bitcoin. Now, when that massive rally starts, I don't know. It could be 3 months down the road, could be 6 months down the road, could be 12 months down the road. Heck, it could even be 18 months down the road. But at some point, I expect a massive, massive rally in Bitcoin that is going to dwarf anything we've seen before. And when that massive rally hits, if Bitcoin 10x's like it did in the past, we would see Bitcoin at $1 million. If it 30x's like it did one time, we are going to see Bitcoin at $3 million. Meaning, sometime in the next 18 months, we could see Bitcoin at between $1 million to $3 million. Now, I know this sounds absolutely impossible. I know this sounds insane, like it would never happen. But I've showed you the data. I've showed you the history. I'm not just throwing random numbers out there. You saw the charts for yourself. You saw the prior price action for yourself. This is the way Bitcoin trades. These are not random numbers. This is based upon history and facts. Based upon history, Bitcoin should hit $100,000 in the next 4 weeks, trade flat for a while, and then get up to somewhere between 1 million and 3 million in the next 18 months. So, with this incredible, insane, almost unbelievable price prediction, what can you buy to take advantage of this upcoming rally? Well, there are a lot of opportunities to make money with the upcoming rally now, way more opportunities than we had during the last rally in 2021. The most obvious of which is simply to buy Bitcoin. If you just buy Bitcoin and the price action of Bitcoin repeats itself, you should be able to anywhere from 10x to 30x your money over the next 18 months. But there are other options as well. The most recent of which are the new spot Bitcoin ETFs. But the question is, which one to buy? Here's a list of the top 10 spot Bitcoin ETFs by fee, and the lower the fee, the lower the price that you're going to pay to hold those Bitcoin, meaning you should have a higher profit by buying a lower fee ETF. Because these spot Bitcoin ETFs are brand new, you are going to want to pay attention to the ones that have the fees waived for the first 6 months as being some of the best ones to buy into. The two top ones would be Bitwise Bitcoin ETF, ticker BITB, and the ARK21 Shares Bitcoin ETF, ticker ARKB. The largest of these is the iShares Bitcoin Trust. So if you want to buy the biggest one, which might be the safest one and might not go under, that one is ticker IBIT. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, which is ticker IBIT, is nearing 200,000 Bitcoin in assets under management, even passing MicroStrategy. So you could buy Bitcoin ETF IBIT or one of the lower fee ones, but I want to talk a minute about MicroStrategy, ticker MSTR. MicroStrategy is sort of the original Bitcoin ETF, if you will, and over the past couple of weeks, it has been absolutely rallying, going all the way from $500 a share all the way up to $1,400 a share, nearly a 200% increase in less than a month. And while MSTR might continue to rise in the short run, it's not necessarily the best place to put your money at the current time. It might be a little bit too late to buy into MSTR. And the reason for that is because the actual value of the underlying assets, that is the value of the actual Bitcoin, is far below the price of the stock. In fact, MSTR is currently trading at a PB ratio, or price to book ratio, or price to asset ratio of 11.11. That means MSTR is trading as if Bitcoin is going to hit $777,000 by the end of this year. Could Bitcoin hit $777,000 within a year? Absolutely, it could. I've already given you my price prediction of between $1 million and $3 million in the next 18 months. So it's reasonable. It's not necessarily overvalued, but the run-up in the price of Bitcoin has pretty much already been priced into MSTR, meaning if you're trying to buy in now, you're probably buying in near the top. There's probably not a whole lot of room to make money on MSTR. So between MSTR and one of the newer spot Bitcoin ETFs, I would absolutely choose one of the newer spot Bitcoin ETFs, because if the price of Bitcoin does 10x and go from 70,000 to 700,000, your spot Bitcoin ETF price should also 10x, while the price of MSTR might actually trade flat since it's already pricing in a 10x return on Bitcoin. So between those two, spot Bitcoin ETFs are probably the best. But there are some other options as well, and one of those is the Bitcoin exchanges, with the most popular one trading on the market being Coinbase, ticker COIN. And just like MSTR, COIN has been running up over the past couple of months. As more and more people buy Bitcoin, this increases the exchange fees that Coinbase is able to charge, and in turn should increase their profits. On the surface, with Coinbase having a PE ratio of 688, this might appear like a very expensive stock. However, Coinbase has a trick up its sleeve. While Coinbase is going to make a lot more money from increased fees on Bitcoin as more and more people buy it, as the price continues to run up, all of those spot Bitcoin ETFs, guess where they hold their Bitcoin? They hold their Bitcoin with Coinbase. Coinbase is the custodian for the spot Bitcoin ETFs, which means as these spot Bitcoin ETFs grow larger and larger in size, as more and more people buy into them, Coinbase makes more and more money from the holding fees. So not only is Coinbase going to make money from exchange fees as people buy Bitcoin on Coinbase, but Coinbase is also going to make money from the holding fees from the spot Bitcoin ETFs. So the profits from Coinbase should be significantly higher than they have been at any other point in history. And it is for that reason that I can easily see Coinbase hitting $1,000 before the next 18 months occur. I can easily see Coinbase going from its current price of around $250 all the way up to $1,000 over the next 18 months. So the first and probably best stock that I would recommend outside of the spot Bitcoin ETFs is probably going to be Coinbase. It has the most solid business fundamentals, and in my mind is probably the safest investment outside of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. Now, you might be asking, what about the miners? Well, let's talk about the crypto miners. The first miner we'll talk about is Cleanspark, ticker CLSK. Cleanspark has been rallying, and among all of the miners, CLSK is the best performing miner stock. Now, unlike Coinbase and the Bitcoin ETFs, the miners aren't going to see as big of a improvement in their revenues and profits as the other stocks will. And the reason for that is the miners are both benefited and hurt by the Bitcoin halving. When the Bitcoin halving takes place, this means the miners are only going to be able to mine half the number of Bitcoins that they had been able to mine in the past. And as the number of Bitcoins they're able to mine gets cut in half, this means their profits get cut in half. However, if the price of Bitcoin goes up 10x over the next 18 months, but the number of Bitcoin they're able to mine gets cut in half, that means their revenue and their profit goes up by 5x. So the Bitcoin miners are going to benefit significantly with the Bitcoin halving, with their profits should go up by about 10x over the next 18 months, making the Bitcoin miners an incredible investment, just not as good of an investment as Coinbase and the spot Bitcoin ETFs. Now, of all of those miners, Cleanspark is growing the fastest. In fact, they are coming up on the number 2 largest Bitcoin mining company. They are growing rapidly, and that is why their stock price has been performing the best as well. So Cleanspark is a great opportunity both for momentum as a short-term trade, as well as quite possibly a long-term hold if you're willing to wait out the next 18 months. The next Bitcoin miner to consider is Riot, ticker RIOT, but this one's in a little bit of an interesting point. Investor sentiment on Riot right now is pretty low, and that's why we've seen the price of Riot drop even as the price of Bitcoin has rallied to a new all-time high. However, based upon technical analysis on the daily charts, it does look like Riot is bottoming out here. So from a value play, I think Riot is the best crypto miner to buy. It's not necessarily the best company or the most profitable. It's not even profitable at all. But from a value perspective, Riot is probably your best bet. So if you like to buy value stocks or undervalued stocks, RIOT might be the best crypto miner to buy. Anybody going back and looking at the charts on these crypto miners might remember how the last time Bitcoin hit 69,000 in 2021, the price of the Bitcoin miners was much higher than it is today. In 2021, Riot hit $79 a share, and yet today it's only trading at $12 a share. Now, some people think that means that the Bitcoin miners have a massive rally ahead of them, but that's not necessarily the case. The reason for that has a lot to do with investor sentiment. See, back in 2021 was a very different time from what it is today. There were no spot Bitcoin ETFs back in 2021. Coinbase hadn't even IPO'd in early 2021, and really the only option for buying in was Bitcoin miners. So at the time, if you had money in the stock market and you wanted to invest in crypto, your only good option was either MSTR or one of the crypto miners. And that's why the crypto miners rallied so much in 2021. But today, there's a lot more options. You can invest in spot Bitcoin ETFs, you can invest in Coinbase, you can invest in MSTR, crypto miners, Bitcoin itself. There's just so many more options today than there were in 2021. And that's why we're not seeing the crypto miners rally as much as we did back in 2021. They still have a lot higher they can go, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get back to all-time highs. The next crypto miner to talk about is Marathon Digital, ticker MARA. And what makes Marathon Digital so unique from CLSK, Riot, HUT, and all the others is that Marathon Digital is actually profitable. Their PE ratio for trailing 12 months is only 17, and as the price of Bitcoin rises, this should increase a lot. So if you like to buy profitable companies, which are generally much safer investments than unprofitable companies, then Marathon Digital, ticker MARA, might be your best bet. So for safety reasons, if you are risk adverse, you might want to consider a spot Bitcoin ETF. If you want to take on a little bit more risk and get possibly a little bit more reward, COIN or MARA. If you're more of a value investor and you want to try to find an undervalued stock that has potential to absolutely skyrocket, think about RIOT. If you like to play the momentum and you want to buy into something that's already rallying and you just want to ride the wave, think about CLSK or MSTR. So those are the ways that you can buy into the Bitcoin rally. Let me know in the comments below what you think about my Bitcoin price predictions. And if you want to know which stocks I'm buying, as I've been buying into the rally and making a ton of money, you can come join me in my Discord where I show all of my trade alerts. We average a 45% profit per trade in the Discord. And between now and 10 a.m. Eastern on Monday, you can get 40% off of the Discord. All you have to do is sign up between now and 10 a.m. Eastern on Monday. But I'm going to warn you, the prices go up on March 11th. Let's make money together. I'll see you in the Discord, and let me know in the comments below what you think about where the future of Bitcoin is going.